Now, ever since KTM launched the Duke 200 in India, KTM fever has been rife in the country's biking communities. We have the RC 390s, we have the RC 200s, we have the Dukes, and of course the one that we've been waiting, praying and begging for, the KTM 390 Adventure is finally here.
Before we dive into the details, you're probably wondering how the adventure bike we've all been waiting for looks. Well, if I asked you to look at the KTM 390 Duke and envision it as an adventure tourer, the 390 Adventure is probably what you imagined. It's got strong design elements that link it to the bigger KTM adventure bikes, but being a smaller, scrappier motor, the 390 Adventure also has some very enduro-like cues. A tip of the hat in a way to KTM's rally heritage and their dominant enduro 450s.
Now, to take a closer look at the KTM 390 Adventure, let's start with the engine. Now, the engine of course is the same one as you would find on the Duke 390. It makes about 44 horsepower and 37 Nm of torque. The only change there is a new cooling system which gets 2 fans for better off-road use. Now, of course, surrounding the Duke 390's engine is an all-new chassis that's derived from KTM's Dakar 450cc bike. Of course, it is slightly longer than your Duke 390 and it has a lot more torsion strength, giving you that stability that you'd need in an off-road situation. Now, moving to the front of the bike, the KTM 390 gets the same 320mm disc as the front. Of course, there are more electronics on that, but we'll get to that later. It has 19-inch front wheel tire, 17s at the rear, and they're shod in Metzeler Touring Torrens tires. Now, another big change on the front is the WP Apex suspension, which still retains the 41 dia, but gets 170mm of travel, which is essential again going off-road once you need to go into those really hard off-road spaces. And a 10-step adjustable rear monoshock with a travel of 177mm, and that's a lot.
KTM's decision to use the 390's high revving motor with no changes to the gearing means that the baby Adventure's performance is absolutely explosive. At 177 kgs, the KTM 390 is about 20 kgs lighter than Royal Enfield's Himalayan. It's so light, in fact, that it almost seems friendly, at least at first. Get past the 3000 RPM mark and all hell breaks loose as the TFT screen struggles to keep up. Unfortunately, KTM have been unable to do anything about the 390's gruff 373cc single that's more than happy to leave you buzzing after a spirited ride. Turn off the blacktop and onto a gravel road and the 390 Adventure's devilish demeanor and almost non-existent bottom end begs you to ring open the throttle and let the rooster tails follow you through. The problem is that the 390 is still a 44 horsepower motorcycle and is capable of sneaking past the triple digit mark before you've had a chance to fully comprehend what you're getting into. This means it can be a little much of a handful for off-road beginners. Thankfully, KTM's 390 Adventure gets an extremely useful electronics package that's not too complex but has just the right features to get the job done. First, traction control gets 2 modes. Simple, on and off. You know, the proper way. ABS gets a standard on mode that uses information from the onboard INU to work in the corner as well, allowing you to brake a lot later into the corner without really having to nosedive into the apex. Off-road ABS allows the rear wheel to lock up, meaning that backing the KTM into slow, tight dirt corners is easily done. In these cases, the front brake is almost telepathic, sending just the right amount of brake information and force into the front wheel for maximum confidence. While the Adventure 390 may not be as precise as its Street Fighter sibling, a mix of great suspension, brakes and steering geometry allows it to be almost as good. And that's saying something considering that it's both longer and taller than its sibling. Another boon is the adjustable fly screen, which means that pushing triple digit speeds can be done without the shattering windblast that you get on a Duke. Overall then, the KTM 390 Adventure comes damn close to perfect, and KTM's off-road heritage does shine through. We do wish though that KTM had altered the gearing a bit to favor the bottom end slightly more than it does.
And that was our review of the brand new KTM 390 Adventure.